Overnight, President Muhammadu Buhari commends renewed vigor by ECOWAS member countries to mobilize own resources to combat terrorism as South African President Cyril Ramaphosa takes over leadership of the African Union at the end of the two-day meeting of the continental body in Addis Ababa. Northern Elders Forum passes vote of no confidence on President Muhammadu Buhari, and the country's service chief says presidency describes group as a one-man army. Southeast governors conclude talks on setting up the region's security outfit as they applaud ongoing work on Second Niger Bridge at Kanu-Biam Airport renovation. And thousands of passengers stuck on a cruise ship in Hong Kong finally disembark after testing negative to coronavirus. And we'll have sports news. The president is pleased that member countries of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, have renewed the vigor to mobilize their own resources to combat terrorism. President Buhari made this comment today at the high-level meeting of the African Union Peace and Security Council at AU Summit in Addis Ababa. He, however, called for new strategies by the Union to effectively prevent, manage and resolve conflicts in the face of new circumstances and emerging challenges. A statement from the presidency quotes President Buhari as saying, "Nigeria condemns in the strongest terms the perpetrators of terrorism in Libya, the Sahel, Lake Chad Basin, and part of the Horn of Africa. We reiterate that efforts must continue to be pooled to mitigate this dreadful violence and secure the future of our continent." On new strategies to resolve conflicts on the continent, the president said more emphasis should be placed on promoting national dialogue, reconciliation, and social cohesion. President Buhari also met with the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, on the sidelines of the summit, where he appreciated the friendly relationship between the two Commonwealth countries, noting that Canada is a destination of choice for higher education by Nigerian students. Meanwhile, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has assumed the chairmanship of the AU for 2020 at this year's summit. Back here in Nigeria, less than 2 weeks after lawmakers in the House of Representatives call for the sack of the service chiefs, the Northern Elders Forum is joining the call. A group is asking for a total overhaul of the nation's security architecture, other public safety agencies, and replacing them with competent hands to deal with several security challenges confronting the nation. Spokesperson for the forum, Kabir Ahmed, accused the current administration of failing to secure the citizens from incessant attacks by bandits and other terrorist groups.
It has now become necessary and appropriate, however, to make public the position of the forum on important matters that affect the manner Nigerians live and the future we must all address. On national security, the forum regrets that by any standard of judgment, the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari has failed the nation in the vital area of improving its security. Poverty, particularly in the north, and massive social security problems have worsened under this administration. The relationship between insecurity and poverty is fundamental, but the administration does not appear to have any idea on what will provide relief or solution. It gives this forum no pleasure to say that it had warned Nigerians that President Buhari lacked the will, the competence, and the commitment to lead it into a secure and prosperous future before the 2019 elections. It is shocking that in spite of the unprecedented consensus among Nigerians that the administration requires a new resolve, approach and leadership in the fight against the nation's multiple security challenges, President Buhari appears either totally isolated or in deep denial over the result of his failures to secure the nation.
And in a swift reaction to that accusation, the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, described the Northern Elders Forum as a quasi-organization that boasts of no credible membership. Ms. Adesina noted that before the 2019 presidential election, the one-man army called NEF had shown its antipathy against President Muhammadu Buhari and its preference for another candidate. He added the Northern Elders Forum is merely waving a flag at half-mast and that President Muhammadu Buhari steadily and steadfastly focuses on the task of retooling Nigeria.
The group that calls itself Northern Elders Forum took a position before the elections last year, and their position was against President Muhammadu Buhari, and they supported the candidate of the People's Democratic Party. Now, what else then can they say? They are opposition. So if they are opposition, they will not see good things in the presidency of Muhammadu Buhari. And another thing about this Northern Elders Forum, it goes under the name of a forum, but the man that signed the statement, Professor Ango Abdullahi, a former vice chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University, take him out of that forum and you can hardly point at anybody else. That's why in our official reaction to that statement, we said it's a general without troops.
Meanwhile, governors of the southeast states are set to announce the details of the region's security outfit, which they say is now in the final process. The chairman of the group and governor of Ebonyi State, Mr. Dave Umahi, gave this indication at the end of the group's meeting in Enugu, where he explained some of the effort already expended in securing the region. Some of the governors at the meeting include the Enugu State Governor, Ifeanyi Ugwanyi, the governor of Governor Okezie-Ikpeazu of Abia State and the Deputy Governor of Anambra State, Mr. Nkem Okeke. Others, Mrs. Nkem Okeke, beg your pardon. Others include the PDP vice presidential candidate in the 2019 presidential election, Mr. Peter Obi, President General, and members of the Ohaneze Ndigbo Socio-Cultural Group, as well as members of the Christian Association of Nigeria.
The forum received our Southeast Joint Security Committee and noted as follows. A, that the Southeast governors had formed their Southeast Joint Security on July 28, 2019 and inaugurated a committee on joint security on the 31st of August 2019. We needed to say this because of a lot of our people that say we should adopt the same program of Southwest. We said, no, we're the first in the entire Nigeria to form our own joint security outfit. And so there was no need of that. And this is the communique that two of them were ready to you. And I'm sure you can still find that in our archive. And so when issues are misrepresented, we believe that should be able to stand for the truth, which is the fulcrum upon which you stand, our dear press people. B, forum took briefing from the chairman of Southeast Joint Security Committee, and we are satisfied with all the arrangement that will lead to Southeast Houses of Assembly to enact a law to back up the Southeast Security Program with a name to the outfit. No name yet, but a lot of work is going on the ground, including recommendation for certain communication equipment that will be warehoused here in Enugu State, and His Excellency, the Governor will provide us a secretariat. Forum have written the federal government in this respect, and at the appropriate time, we shall be inviting the federal government to know the details of our joint security program. D, we wish to assure our people that we have our state vigilante and the forest guards in all the southeast states who work with security agencies daily in our various communities for the protection of our lives and property.
Just to point out here that the Deputy Governor of Anambra State, Mr. Nkem Okeke, was also at that meeting. We'll be joined now on the news at 10 by Mr. Kabir Ahmed, a security and risk management consultant, and the Managing Director of Beacon Consulting Limited to discuss some of the current security challenges in the country. He joins us from our studio in Abuja. Mr. Ahmed, thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you, Amarachi. The name is Adamu, Kabir Adamu.
Oh, apologies there, Mr. Kabir Adamu. It does appear the clamor for regional security in Nigeria is gathering momentum now. We just heard from the Southeast governors just after their meeting. They're going ahead with a plan for regional security outfits. How do you see this playing out vis-a-vis the police authorities' plan for community policing across the country?
I think the wheels of governance are very slow, and unfortunately in Nigeria they're even much more slower. In December 2019, the Buhari administration launched the revised National Security Strategy 2019, wherein it stated clearly that community policing would be the way to go. And since then, we've seen several steps by the Nigerian police force in an attempt to implement the community's policing policy. The reality is that insecurity is a huge challenge. People are dying, properties are being destroyed. So this type of regional self-help initiatives and state-level initiatives have been there, and they are emerging, vis-a-vis this attempt by government to implement community policing. So the reality is that, unfortunately, we haven't seen a cohesive effort between the federal government and the states to tackle these issues jointly. If we recall that the states are also part of the federation, they are also expected to play a part in both security and other aspects of governance, then I think it's quite unfortunate that we're seeing this type of different approach to the same challenge that is affecting the country.
Yeah, I'd like to get your thoughts on what the Northern Elders Forum today said. They passed a vote of no confidence on the president and security, which is one of the reasons the group gave for its decision. You heard Mr. Additional there, the president's spokesperson, saying that the group is partisan and therefore not in a position to give an objective explanation, an objective opinion on what is going on. What are your thoughts on this?
Firstly, I've gone through the position of the Northern Elders Forum, and most of what they've mentioned are true. It is a fact that we have a challenge of security. It is a fact that the economy is not doing very well in the north. However, like Femi Adesina mentioned, unfortunately, the group is riddled by partisanship. Himself, Ango Abdullahi, clearly associated very, very well with the former PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. The author or the person who read that statement was the chief of staff to the immediate past Senate president. So clearly he's in the camp of the opposition, the PDP. So I think that is the challenge with that statement, even though a lot of what they've said is true, but because almost all the members of that forum have one way or the other associated with the opposition, then it's not very likely that the current administration would receive that message very well. That's one. Two, I think they failed in putting forward an alternative solution. Because if you are criticizing, then I would expect you to put forward alternative recommendations, actually, that the government can look at and then take forward. Let's look at their call for the sacking or changing of the service chiefs. As a security expert, I've asked myself, the military composition, the 5 departments in the military are just 5 out of 23 other subunits that we have under the security architecture in the country. So if you are blaming 5 for the fault of 23 as it were, I don't think that's a fair assessment. Yes, because of our military history, because of our colonial past, the military is very involved in internal security matters. But then we should not blame them for that. It is the national security architecture, the national security strategy that is faulty. Changing the service set without changing that national security architecture or national security strategy would not make any meaning. So I would have expected the Northern Elders Forum to put forward recommendations like that would tell us, Hakim Baba Ahmed as an example, is a retired civil servant, very experienced. He was the chief of staff to the Senate president, very experienced. So those type of recommendations, I think, would have been more practical and maybe would have made more meaning than just condemning, for instance, at a go blanketly the, as it were, performance of the Buhari administration.
Yeah, and everyone is looking. What's most important now is a solution, and every little helps. Mr. Kabir Adamu, thank you again for joining us on the news at 10 tonight. And
Thank
in
you.
part two, after the break, Nigeria fine-tunes preparedness for unforeseen outbreak of coronavirus as the Minister of Health inspects facilities here in Lagos. Stay with us.